Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You know, think about this for just a second. Isn't it really weird that here in America, our flag and our culture supposedly offend so many people, but the benefits that we give them, that's okay? Huh. Have to think about that one for a minute. Here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, call in on a Wednesday. And a good morning to you all. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale. And don't forget some of our really good advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Proudly, good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That
boy, Wheels. Good job. Thank you very much. And right now it's time for the weather forecast, and it's brought to you by Roger and the crew over at K&R Rental. Hello at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Yep, can't miss them. They're right on the Burley Paul Highway, ready to serve you with all the best of tools and equipment you need to finish any kind of a project. Start a project, whatever. And you know what? If you're not sure what you need, like in my case, I wouldn't have a clue. I'd have to ask. And they welcome the phone call at 678-3122. K&R Rental. You get over there and see them today. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this final Wednesday of the month, and it is going to be a nice day but breezy, mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 70. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour, increasing by this afternoon, and we could have gusts of about 32 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 42. Those winds are going to be continuing but decreasing as we make our way through the overnight hours. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, just a slight breeze with a high of 73. By tomorrow night, we do have a slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms after midnight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 50. By Friday, slight chance of rain showers or thunderstorms are possible. Afternoon, partly sunny skies as we get towards the evening hours, high of 69. Going to be breezy as well. Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 41. Then for the weekend, looks like sunny skies and upper 60s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb.
Oh, my goodness. I love that forecast. Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you, of course, by K&R Rental this hour. Start things off bright and early in the morning. And they're located at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, right there on the Burley Paul Highway. Number to call, Roger and his great crew, 678-3122. K&R Rental. Real fast, I want to remind you today, ladies, is the big Minnecaster Chamber of Commerce Women's Expo at the Burley Best Western Inn and Convention Center. Starts in a little under an hour. Hidden gems. There's something for everyone, gals. You better get over there. Tickets at the door, I believe, are still $20, including lunch. And sponsored by Idaho Central Credit Union, Intermountain Cassia Regional Hospital, Wright Physical Therapy, and Tailored Living. That is going on today. Don't you miss it. We got a lot of things cooking today. including a phone call coming in, but I'm going to take that call in just a moment. I also want to remind you about our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. They also get there early in the morning, especially Rita, Glenn, everybody at 7:30. Open the doors till 5, Monday through Friday. All your heating, and now we can start talking a little bit about the cooling and electrical needs. Yeah, cooling with your air conditioners, because we are going to see increasingly warmer temperatures, and you want to stay cool and comfortable. Well, stop in, check out all the air filters for your air conditioning units at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
A little addition to what you said a minute ago about the benefits these people are getting is these undocumented insurgents want to get access to a ballot box, even though they're not citizens, and that will allow them to completely take control of our country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only take control, but have control. And with the idiocy and incompetency of a socialist like Bernie Sanders also coming out and saying that he would advocate for felons, murderers, rapists, terrorists in prison to have the right to vote, we're going to turn our society completely upside down.
Well, can you imagine MS-13 managers, criminals, running for mayors of our city?
Yeah, I can. This is the havoc and this is the absolute chaos that's coming to this country if we don't put a great big broom out there in a dustpan and start cleaning things up.
Well, this younger generation doesn't appear to understand what's happening to this country.
You know, and that's really the fault of our education system and parents and everyone else that's supposed to be in authority, because these kids will be easily led, and they are. The millennials are easily led, and they are, by a group that wants to be so subversive to this country, and they're winning by the numbers that are increasingly following them over a cliff.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. You've got a lot of support, and it's going to keep on growing.
I appreciate it, Tony. God bless you, and say hello to Mary for me.
Certainly will.
All right. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to talk to you about Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. And I was just looking, and thanks to Deanne, and that reminds me of something else I've got to say in a moment. All the great new menu items. Oh, my goodness. They've got a Cobb salad with prime rib add-on or Mediterranean grilled chicken. It's good. And all the breakfasts, whether it's pancakes, omelets, breakfast skillets, whatever it might be, you'd better stop into America's Diner. And that's Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley, and also another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. America's Diner, and that is Denny's Restaurant. I want to take just a moment, caller. Don't go away. I want to say that, again, the Women's Expo is at the Burley Best Western this morning. I mentioned that just a moment ago. It's Administrative Professionals Day, and I'm going to take 30 seconds right here and say thank you to Gina Jameson over at our stations, our sister stations, K-Bar and Cat Country, for all she has done to help us over the many, many years. And a special day, Administrative Professionals Day. Thank you, Gina, for being so helpful to Deanne and I. Now, I also want to thank a lady that means more to me than anybody else, and for 47 years, I've been honored to be her spouse, and that's my lovely wife, Deanne. Had it not been for her and all the work that she does behind the scenes that nobody knows about, helping me run this company and run this business, it wouldn't be here. And Deanne, I say this, God bless you, I love you, and thank you so much for all your effort. There you go. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, Deanne is the greatest, and she does it quietly. She don't make any waves or anything. She does the job. And kudos to her and her profession. You may not think this is profession, but she does.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from the bookkeeping to helping me with the getting of all the guests that we have on this program, all the paperwork, everything, absolutely could not do it without her, and I thank her so much. By the way, I'm going to interrupt you right there. I was going to get into a little dissertation in a minute, and you called anyway. You and your lovely wife, Nancy, came by yesterday and provided us with a treat that was really a treat. Nancy made some brownies that Deanne just grabbed onto, and I haven't seen them since. And then I also was given a plate of sugar cookies, and they are absolutely great. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You know, the spirit of giving is much greater than receiving, I think.
Oh, I agree with that.
But, adding to what Tony was saying, this problem we're having, socialism, is starting out in grade school.
Oh, yeah.
When you and I went to school, we were taught to sit there and listen to the teacher, and the only time you interrupted her is when you raised your hand.
That's right.
And so they have full control over you. I think here in Idaho, we're very fortunate to have teachers that really care about the students, and they don't try to push their propaganda.
Our education system nationwide, and I am going to exclude much of what's going on right here because I think we have some excellent teachers, I think we have some excellent school systems, and I think we have some excellent administrators. But on the whole, nationwide, our education system needs a good slap in the face and a wake-up call because we're not turning out students that appreciate and respect our country and what it provides for them.
That's true. We were taught as young people that when people tell you to, you're supposed to listen to your elders, right? And most people still do, but these young people like this OAC, that is the worst thing that can happen to America.
Well, it is, and your point's very well taken. Here is I believe she just turned 30, but when she assumed the office, she was 29, wet behind the ears, absolutely knows nothing, very unknowledgeable, uninformed, and lack of intelligence person on world affairs and how things work in this country. And to think that the Democratic Party, honestly, and I beg to differ with anybody on this that wants to argue, to think that the Democratic Party is dumb enough, and I'll use that word, to follow somebody so naive and so unintelligent, it's absolutely despicable.
It certainly is, and you could put her in a debate, and you could tie her knots. Someone like you, who has quite a bit of knowledge, she wouldn't stand a chance.
Well, it's not so much the knowledge and bragging about what somebody knows over what somebody doesn't know. It's just the basics of understanding our Constitution, understanding what this country is, and understanding what it has done in the past. And I'm sick and tired of seeing the degrading of our nation, not only from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but the Muslims like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and others that they're put in office to represent America, and they condemn America. I mean, there's something wrong with this picture.
Bernie Sanders, they'll show it on TV. His audience is strictly socialist. No question about it. So when somebody asks them a question, it's easy for him to answer.
Well, it's young and misguided people that are easily led by a four-letter word called free, F-R-E-E. Keith, I got to get a commercial break in here. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
All right, sir. By the way, those sugar cookies that Nancy gave me yesterday, sent from heaven. Thank you very much. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And they can help you get back to being you. That's right. I mean, you got an ache and a pain and recovering from surgery or an accident, whatever. Please, I urge you to call. Make an appointment at 678-1191. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. And, of course, Nick Greenwell heads up all the physical therapists over there, helping you with the the exercises, the hydrotherapy pool, everything at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Call today for an appointment, 678-1191. Very, very nice, knowledgeable people. Oh, also, excuse me for coughing like that. I didn't mean to have that creep up on me. Want to say a big thank you to Jake and the crew over at Rain for Rent. Now, I'm really impressed with people that can understand technology and how to figure it out and everything. They've got the telemetry annex boxes that will go for any pivot of in irrigation in your field, and you can control them on your smartphone. I'm telling you what, this is really interesting innovations for me. And I know that Reinke Diamond Dealer, Rain for Rent, is ready to serve you, and they've got the industry's longest warranty, and, of course, dedicated sales and service staff that really know and understand all the intricacies of your irrigation program. So please get a hold of them today. Rain for Rent at 134 South 600 West of Paul, 438-5065. Please call today. They are really, really good. Got to catch up here for a moment. Stand by. I also want to mention, before we get to our next topic, Rain for Rent. We just talked about those good folks, and then that means also I want to just quickly mention Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Absolutely. Whole Humford. Got to remember that word, Humford. We combined them. Home and comfort is now Humford. Don't forget they've got your whole home comfort systems and Lennox home comfort systems, brand new, and they're offering up to possibly $1,700 in rebates on a new system. All you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 and find out more details. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric along with Lennox. There you go. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to take just a moment, and I didn't make these up. These are not my thoughts. These are actual, very viable, and yes, they were put together by the Democrats as to their platform of ideas that they're going to try to put on the American public if, and I hope it's a very small if, they get the power of the Senate and the presidency. And to me, I'm going to be very blunt, it's almost like committing political suicide. Unless our gullible and naive American public is going to accept this and is ready to accept this. The Democratic platform goals for 2020 are, and this isn't just one person, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris has come out and said the same thing, voting rights for felons and terrorists. You just think about that. They were put in prison because they killed, wanted to kill, murdered, raped, whatever the case might be, and to give them voting rights so that they can have a voice in how perhaps prison and confinement laws are changed, etc., along with many other things? No. One reason why Bernie, wild-haired Bernie, should never see the Oval Office unless he buys a ticket on a tour. Reparations to blacks. Now, the sky's the limit on this one. They want to have reparations to blacks and black families. They say that were associated with the slave trade 230 to 40 years ago, coming into this country. And they want you and I to pay for the ills of bringing them here to the United States. Not one dime. Not one dime do I want to see go to reparations. I'm going to be going over these quickly this morning, and I welcome your calls. They also want free college tuition and debt forgiveness for college educations. And I slam my Tony Lama down on the floor and I say no, and not only no, but heck no. I paid for my college. I worked 2 jobs to pay my way through school. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew what I wanted to do in a career, and I paid for it. And I don't think it's fair for those of us in any other generation to have paid for our college education and then to have these people that are misguided, have no clue what they want to do besides basket weaving and pottery class, to get a forgiveness of the debt. You assume the debt, you pay it off. That you're a problem. And the Green New Deal, to absolutely kill, stymie, and throw away energy program right now in this country that is growing, and it's absolutely being the best thing for our economy. They want to add trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars to eliminate that and go with just the solar and the wind. These people are complete buffoons. Caller, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to give a quick commercial, and I'll be right back. Want to remind, and then I'll take your call. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street and their Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Dr. Bill and the rest of the good folks, they really honestly care about the health and welfare of your animals. Whether it's your pets, your dogs, kitty cats, or whether it's your dairy cattle, your horses, whatever, please remember they're there to serve you, a mixed animal practice, and they can help. And they will help keep your animals healthy. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn, and the number 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Want to remind you, too, on Mondays we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's on the square in Rupert. Oh, Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Wonderful bakery, fantastic restaurant at Sophie's Chatterbox. Don't forget, that's Monday at 8:30. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, you're talking. People want to pay for. People would like us to pay for their college when. How many college students have gone to college and got a degree or a 4 or 5 year degree, and they're sitting at home because they can't find a job? That's kind of ridiculous and redundant. But the whole thing of pay for this and give me that, and I deserve this, and my ancestors did that. Well, like you touched on this before, you can't undo the past. I can't undo the past. As much as we want, we can't. All we can do is learn from the past to keep the future a bright and shining one. If we all the time concentrate on the ills of our past, whether it be from black, white, yellow, or indifferent, it doesn't much matter, then we're always going to be enslaved by it. We're never going to be free of it. We can't learn from it. All we want to do is worry about it.
Now, there's the key word. You just said it. We need to learn from our past, not incriminate it, not try to cover it up, hide it under the rug, or whatever the case might be, but learn from it and try to be better in the future. But to go back and say that we have to pay for past mistakes, it's the most ludicrous, ridiculous, and absolutely idiotic thing I've ever heard.
Well, I agree with you. And how many of the descendants are alive of those that actually had slaves on slave plantations back in the early 1800s and whatever else? How many of their descendants are actually around?
I can't answer that question.
I would guess to bet there's really not as much as people would think. But, my ancestors come across long after that, and they expect me to pay reparations for what? Well, what about my family who came from England that were kind of more or less servants of servitude, more or less,
Yeah.
What about them? What about the Irish immigrants? What about the Chinese or the Japanese?
Yeah, but you just opened the Pandora's box of, like I said when I started the conversation, how high is up. In other words, once you start this, are you also going to be approached by the various groups that you talked about? Are you going to also say, well, we got to pay them too. You got to pay them too. You got to pay them too. And pretty soon your society is completely flip-flopped. This is idiocy personified, and I absolutely hope it doesn't go any further. Riley, always good to hear from you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll give you some more of their very childish and uneducated platform in just a moment. I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. And, if you need something to lift, dig, push, or carry, they've got all the equipment, I'll tell you what, absolutely. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, and they've got all the Bobcats. They've got everything you need to finish your project. So I urge you to get a hold of them today. They've got 3 locations, Berry Equipment and Rental, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the Nampa location. And they're waiting for you. Questions? Don't know how to run the equipment? Don't worry about it. They can teach you. They got a sandbox right out behind the business. At Berry Equipment and Rental, you be sure and get a hold of them today. Let's see. And I've got to get these on real quick. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we got a couple of great sales coming up this week, managed by Bennett Boys Auction Service. The first one is going to be on this Friday, April 26th. It's the Henry Schutte auction over in Eden. I know Henry and his family, very nice people. From the Garden of Eden, go east on Frontage Road 4 miles to Eden Road, then south 1 mile, and then west on 1100 East. Watch for all the signs. Bennett Boys Auction Service, Henry Schutte Auction, 11 o'clock this Friday. Don't miss it. Tractors, trailers, farm equipment, all kinds of goodies. And, of course, that's managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. Then, also on Saturday, the 27th, in Gooding, they've got the Wileen Whitfield Estate Auction, and that's going to be at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, located in Gooding, Idaho, at 1890 Floral Avenue in Gooding. Antiques, lots of really unique antiques, collectibles, household items, everything. And again, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, yep, they sell them all. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Yeah, sir. This reparation deal, why don't we just reverse it and say, okay, all you black slaves that were freed, you need to pay reparation to the white soldiers who died to free you.
That is never brought up except on this program.
I know it, but I mean, if it wasn't for those white soldiers, the Union soldiers, the Republicans, willing to die to free man, to make men equal, that wouldn't have happened.
But let's go back even to the genesis of the problem, if you want to call it a problem. It was an accepted practice during those days. In the 1700s, the slave trade was an enormously big business, and it was led and conducted by, listen to this, black slave traders. And if you're going to start pointing fingers and condemning and damning people and saying, well, we demand reparations and money for the ills that have been provided to our forefathers, you better start pointing your finger at your own.
Exactly. The ones in Africa that captured those slaves and put them on the boat should be the ones paying the penalty.
I don't understand. This is what really is bugging me. I don't understand how you can go over your shoulder and expect to take down all the statues, expect to pay reparations, expect to make apologies, and then look forward and try to make the country better. How can you erase the past and its history and look forward and try to do something for today?
Well, I keep going back to this. Look at what happened in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Where they erased the past, and look what the future was.
Well, just look at the Kate Smith issue, okay? There's a prime example. It's not, I'm not going to throw this up again for complete discussion, but Kate Smith, one of the most iconic singers ever in America, and anybody that says no, she wasn't, they're absolutely devoid of any talent, ability at all. Kate Smith was absolutely a great singer, one of her own kind that I don't think will ever be equaled. And then to say that she's racist because she sang songs back in 1931, 88 years ago, that was, the lyrics were accepted and it was part of a Broadway play. My goodness, and they're taking down statues and canceling her God Bless America, but not on my program.
Exactly. And look at what they're wanting to do to Mark Twain's writing.
I know it.
I mean, it's utterly ridiculous, but that's what the left has. They have no policy to move this country forward, to get people to listen to them and want to vote for them. The only way that they're getting votes is to buy them. And what they're saying, 90% of what they're saying they're going to do cannot happen. It will not happen.
Well, I stopped at the new Green Deal, and I'm going to quickly do this, Doug, because I've only got 2 minutes in this segment, and I got to do a commercial break. But they want to lower the voting age to 16. You know as well as I do, they're pandering the kids that really don't understand what's going on. That's exactly what's happening. They want to stop the Second Amendment, and they want to stop private and personal gun ownership. They want to change and stack the Supreme Court in their favor with more numbers. They do not want any more with the Electoral College. They do not want private health insurance companies in this country. They want a single-payer, one-size-fits-all. They want to legalize pot and drugs. This whole country, honestly, how can they look at all these different points that I've mentioned and say the Democrats are just absolutely not insane and anti-American?
Well, they are. And like I've said before, too, they can't win on policies, so they have to change the rules. I mean, it's a sad day in America when one party hates the country so bad that they want to change it, when this country has given them everything they have. And I can't understand that. Here you're trying to bite the hand that's feeding you.
Well, it's almost as bad. Well, I got to get into that in another minute. I've got a commercial break, but I'm just disgusted that people, I'm not saying people here because I think we've got more common sense people in a very conservative area here in southern Idaho. Oh, yeah, we got some crackpots and weirdos, but in general, very conservative. But when you look at L.A., you look at Chicago, you look at maybe perhaps Jacksonville, Florida, New York City, etc., and these people are absolutely leaning towards voting rights for felons and terrorists, reparations for blacks, free college and debt forgiveness, the Green New Deal with trillions of dollars of cost, lowering the voting age to 16. The list goes on. How? Don't they understand the problems that's going to create?
They do. They do understand that. And the deal of lowering the voting age to 16, and they're saying you can't buy a firearm till you're 21 because you're not responsible. Why not raise the voting age to 21 because you're not responsible when you're 16?
I can't argue that at all, my dear friend. Doug, I got to run quickly. Do your senior citizen deal.
Well, everybody, let's do what we can for our seniors around this country. Let's donate to their senior center. Let's volunteer to help them. You'll be blessed beyond your wildest dreams if you volunteer or go eat lunch at a senior center.
Absolutely. Doug, thank you so much. Don't forget, caller, I'll be right there. Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena. Oh, my goodness, all your electronic needs. I mean that, all your electronic needs. They really understand this, and they're located at 421 East Main in Burley. Had a hard day, and you come home, and you sit down in front of your TV, and it fizzles, and it pops, and it just doesn't do anything right. Well, they've got all the TVs. Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. They've got it all right there at Patterson's. They understand, and they can help you pick out just the right one. Absolutely. All your complete sound systems and home theater systems, all of this at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. Open Monday through Saturday. I almost said Sunday. 9 to 6. Don't forget, Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. The Burley Senior Center menu for today is roast beef, mashed taters and gravy, mixed vegetables, salad, and yummy dessert.
What is the yummy dessert, Joe?
Well, they haven't decided yet, but it'll be good.
Okay. And it's only $5.
Meals to take out, you just call in. $5 for anybody and everybody, young and old, they're all welcome.
All right. There is the Yummy Man, and he's got a special car that says Yummy on the side of it. Thanks, Joe.
Have a good one. Appreciate you.
God bless you, man.
Bye.
Thanks. Joe Taylor, good guy right there. I just heard this report this morning with these numbers, and it's absolutely scary. And if you're not worried about this, there's something wrong with you. 10,000 or more. Let me say that number again. 10,000 or more, and they're accumulating more in numbers, in what is said to be called the mother of all caravans of illegal aliens that are on their way here to our borders. Now, Border Patrol agents, Border Patrol leadership, our government, etc., 10,000 people are going to be storming our borders and saying we're coming in and you can't stop us. Well, the truth is, I don't know how they are going to stop this invasion unless we line the borders with our military and let these invaders, these criminal invaders, know they are not coming in and use force if necessary. Now, the bleeding heart liberals out in the audience, oh, those poor people, they just want to come to America. Pretty soon, when you start seeing numbers of 10,000 in this caravan and other numbers of 8, 9, maybe even more than 10,000, and they estimate the number of illegal aliens coming into our borders will be well over 1 million this year alone. Think about it. Are they going to pitch tents on your front yard? Are they going to take up residency in your garage? How much more of your Social Security and other benefits that you've worked for are you going to give up to help pay for them that just basically invaded our country and said, hi, I'm here, take care of me? And the other point that needs discussion, many of these caravanners are coming in from Cuba, Haiti, and Africa. And Africa scares me because of the Ebola crisis and all the diseases. And they're marching along with all these caravanners coming here. Yes, it's a crisis. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. You know, I think I don't understand why they can't stop them before they get across the Mexican border into Mexico. Turn them back around and ship their butts home before they even get close. We're getting outbreaks of diseases that have been non-existent for years. And now they're coming back. Where do you suppose they're coming from?
Oh, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. And the vagaries that some on the left say, well, oh, gee, we have no idea where this came from, all the measles outbreaks, etc. That's a bunch of balderdash, and you know it as well as I do. We're having people come into our country, take up residence in our country. We have no idea about their immunization programs, if any. And we're seeing possibly now with people coming in from Africa, I don't know about you, my dear friend, but when you hear the word Ebola, it kind of makes a cold chill run up my back.
Oh, definitely so. And, you know, I think President Trump had the right idea. Let's put them on buses and ship them all into Nancy Pelosi's backyard.
Absolutely. Gavin Newsom, San Francisco, all over the place. I could not agree more. You want these people here? You want to defy the law and have a sanctuary city policy? Well, then, hello, open the bus doors and welcome to America.
Really? And, you know, they've been doing a special on Fox News on San Francisco and L.A. Have you been watching those?
I'm going to just say this. It was to the point where it's so gross and it's so filthy with the human filth and the needles and the absolutely depraved society that is being created and living there. You get to the point where, like, if you're sitting down for the dinner hour, you don't want to watch.
No. And, you know, that's right in their backyards. How can we expect them to understand the crisis at the border when they can't look out their guarded gates and see what's happening in their own cities, in their own backyard.
Amen.
That's just asinine to me. The number of veterans that are homeless, the number of little children that are going hungry at night. Why do we have to support all these foreigners who really don't want to assimilate to our customs? Why can't we help our own in need before we help everybody else?
There is a question.
I'd like to ask.
No, it's a question that should be asked. It's probably the best question out there. But yet we will open with open arms, illegal aliens. We don't know what their purpose is. We don't know why they're here. And we open up our checkbooks and say, oh, I didn't want to retire. Oh, I didn't need that new car, even though mine's a clunker. I'll just give the money to these people. We've got takers instead of givers, and I'm sick of it.
Yeah. I don't understand what their I guess it's just not within my realm of thought how you can support all these people. Tens of thousands of people are coming, crossing the borders daily. How can we ingest all of this stuff?
Donna, you can't. You can't, and you're spot on, because it's absolutely going to break America. I'm late on my weather, my dear sweet friend. Thank you so much.
You betcha, my friend. Have a good day.
All right, God bless. Weather forecast brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and they've got 3 great doctors of audiology that can help you. Maybe your hearing is related to a health problem or being overweight or something with your blood pressure, whatever it might be. I urge you to get a hold of them today for a hearing screening. It's easy. All you have to do is call the number 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, serving you. Right now we'll do the weather, and I'll be back with the next call. Stand by.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this final Wednesday of the month, and it is going to be a nice day but breezy, mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 70. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour, increasing by this afternoon, and we could have gusts of about 32 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 42. Those winds are going to be continuing but decreasing as we make our way through the overnight hours. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, just a slight breeze with a high of 73. By tomorrow night, we do have a slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms after midnight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 50. By Friday, slight chance of rain showers or thunderstorms are possible afternoon. Partly sunny skies as we get towards the evening hours, high of 69. Going to be breezy as well Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 41. Then for the weekend, looks like sunny skies and upper 60s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. Great job. Brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Again, call for a hearing screening today. Do not let your hearing suffer. Be sure and get a hold of them today. 312-0957. Caller, I'll be right there. And I want to remind everybody again about our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox and the home comfort systems. And together they're offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new home comfort system. Check it out today. Please call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox and their home comfort systems. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, what do you think would happen if this crap was planned for North Korea, China, or the Soviet Union?
What do you mean, as far as the illegal invasions?
Yes.
Everybody that would try to come in would be shot.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, this may sound a little brutal to you, but if we don't get something like that done, this country's finished.
If we don't have some armed military on our border that is absolutely going to maintain the fact that if you come in here illegally, armed force will be used and necessary, we're done. We're toast. And now the smugglers that are bringing these human families, tragedies across our border, they are arming themselves with assault rifles, and they're ready to shoot our own border patrol. And some Nimrod's going to say that this isn't a crisis. This is a war.
It is a war, and we keep hearing about these people that want to disarm America. If America was disarmed, we would really fall.
Tony, I'm telling you.
He's saturated with AK-47.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I am really concerned when you have people like Julian Castro that is running on the Democratic ticket as one of the 19 or 20 Democrats that wants the nomination, and he's standing there saying, let them all in, let all the illegals in, we need more people, no borders. Tony, that scares me to death.
It is, and the way things are going now, it's a God bless Donald Trump, and I'm glad we've got him. I hope we get him for another 4 years, because if he leaves, this country's going to be done.
I agree. Thank you, Tony. God bless you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You know, when you look at what's going on down there on the border, it's nothing more than an invasion of illegal aliens that don't care about our Constitution. They don't care about you and I. They don't care about anybody but themselves. And they want to come in and just basically take from us. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I've been listening to this, and I think you know how I feel. I am amazed at how good those guys look when we get to the border, too. You know, they're pretty cleaned up, and they've got decent clothes on, and they seem to be having, you know, no trouble walking around. Now, if somebody had walked that far through Mexico and hadn't been fed really well, they never would have gotten here. I think Mexico is probably transporting them on buses and feeding them on the way because they figured it would be easier to do that than to help them make a living in their own country.
You know, Chris, you're very observant, and you and Deanne are the same way. Deanne noticed that these people have all fresh-looking clothing on. They've got Nike tennis shoes. They look like they just basically are going to a picnic in the park. And it's absolutely ludicrous to think that they're haggard and forlorn and all this kind of garbage. They're being perpetrated and sent forth on this caravan by big-money people that want to see the downfall of the United States.
Well, and when they're so cleaned up and they've got name brand clothes on, that's kind of amazing. Is that being done by Americans that are wishing our country bad will?
All I know is that the clothes some of them had on in this caravan are things that I can't afford to buy, and I buy a lot cheaper.
Anyway, I think it's time that Americans call everybody that represents us and bombard the White House. Because I don't think Trump wants these guys here, but I think he's just kind of, what do? I don't want to kill a bunch of people and that sort of thing. And what do they honor? Will they look in the barrel of the gun and say, I'm coming anyway?
For every illegal, Chris, that comes here, for every illegal alien, and I'm going to call it what it is, for every illegal alien that comes here and commits a crime and or kills an American citizen, that was an unneedless crime and or killing. And we need to stop problems in coming into this problem, and it's going to stop at the border. The military should be there. They should be armed. There should be no excuses. No one crosses the border illegally. It's simple as that.
Well, and that's what we have our military for. I am really surprised that Trump hasn't done this already.
I wished he would.
I just wish he would. Yeah, I guess you've got to bombard the White House.
I appreciate your call as always, my dear friend. Thank you. God bless. Thank you. Nice lady right there. And I just think this problem has to be dealt with in a very strict manner. And that means, no, you're not coming in. And if you don't understand no, take the next step. Don't forget our major sponsor on this program, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale. I mean, get in the mood for maybe taking a little drive with the family, taking a trip to Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred. Drive carefully, drive safely with brand new tires for your car, your pickup, your SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever. They've got so many different tires on sale, and boy, they've got all the tread designs things, all the sizes for you. Stop in today. And don't forget the best in brake service. Oh, highly trained brake technicians. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this, but the best in service. I mean, they come running out the door at a high lope to serve you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're going to take a little break and come back with my friend Dave Bigo, and then at 9:30 we're going to be talking to Susan Crockford, and she absolutely is going to dispel a lot of this climate change, global warming bunk. There's another word I wanted to use, but I can't. And then at 10 o'clock, excellent segment with Representative Fred Wood coming here to the studio. We're going to be talking about many things, immunizations and Medicaid and others, so don't miss that. Zeb at the Ranch, we'll turn it over to Wheels. I'll be back in 7. Oh, good morning on a beautiful day outside. Zeb at the Ranch, of course. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and a great big spring tire sale going on right now, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, my old buddy is over there, and he's going to tell us about Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Let's talk a little bit about getting on the route service. You know, maybe you've just moved in here and you don't know who can take care of your garbage and get rid of it for you. Well, the answer is so simple. Please get a hold of Western Waste Services today. The number to call, 734-6969. Tell them where you live. Get on the route service. Once a week they're there to pick up your garbage. Whew, it's gone. It's out of there. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. 734-6969. Want to also remind you too quickly about our friends with Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox with the whole home comfort systems. And if you're in the market for a home comfort system, they're offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. Check it out today, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Call them at 678-0459. And don't forget, terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. One more good word before we go to our dear friend Dave Bigo. I want to remind you about another dear friend, and that's Joel Heward at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. He and his family and his staff always serving and providing the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. When there's the passing of a loved one, it's just extremely emotional and tumultuous time, and they are always there to serve you with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to call 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Wow, don't forget Mondays at 10:30, Vicky's Country Garden right here on the air, and we'll talk about all your gardening do's, don'ts, and wannabes. And, of course, Vicky's Country Garden right there on the Burley-Paul Highway, and she is the lady that knows all about gardening. Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, 10:30 right here on Zeb at the Ranch on Mondays. Hello, Dave Bigo. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Zeb. How you doing?
Well, I'm really glad you're on the air this morning because, man, I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of different topics I want to ask you about. First one being, and I'm a little bit more harsh than you are, but I think it's time now to use force and very strict attitudes. We have been told that the mother of all illegal alien caravans is on its way to our borders. They estimate over 10,000 people are going to try to just force their way in. I say put the military on the border. I say if necessary to protect the sanctity and sovereignty of our borders and protect our citizens, use force. What are you saying?
Well, Zeb, again, I think I've talked to you about this, but I wrote a blog about this several years ago that I felt they need to put the military on the border, and they need to be allowed to do what they need to do to stop the secure our borders, and that needs to happen. And it's getting worse because on top of what you just talked about, I don't know if you know, but and Fox News brought this out. But heavily armed men escorted migrants across the U.S. border. They brought in a family at 10 p.m. on Saturday near Lukeville, Arizona, and that's bad when you've got migrants coming in that are heavily armed.
Well, we did talk about that, and let's talk a little bit about the circumstances. It's not just one case. They've got video footage showing many of these smugglers, these human traffickers, that are coming up to the border with armed with assault rifles and ready to kill or shoot at anybody on our side, i.e. our Border Patrol. And what's also really interesting about this, they are using, that's the only word I can think of, children to get across the border. One child was found to have been here 3 times with 3 different families.
Yeah, it's all their way of getting started in this country. They get the kids over here and say, the kids are allowed to come in now. We as parents say you need to allow us to come in to be here too, and what they have to go through, and this is, we're a country of laws, and they have to follow our laws, and they need to go through the process, period.
When you say a country of laws, caller, I'll be right there, stand by. A country of laws, that's almost been diminished to the application of some and not others. This society needs to be very strict about the laws and how they're conducted and how they're enforced. But by letting these people in, or even getting up close to the border, we are opening up for a crisis that absolutely is going to be an armed invasion. We're done. We're toast.
Well, yeah, and it's time. And I'll be honest with you. I've talked to some of President Trump's people on that, and I've told them, we need to put the military in charge, and we need to secure the borders because, at the end of the day, the far left and people in other countries, the socialist type of countries, they want to bring this country down and make it a socialistic country. And this is all part of the program.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a comment. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yes, Zeb, and for your guest. I hate to say it, but sometime it's going to have to come down to us citizens standing down there, the actual citizens of this country, to keep it safe. And the Border Patrol is doing their best, and I salute the men that serve, the men and women that serve and do their best. But we're going to come to a time that we just have to do it ourselves. And I don't want violence. I don't think there's need for violence. Just a show of force might do the trick. People come in here armed, that's a different story, but I'll let you go.
No, I appreciate your call. Thank you very, very much, and I think you bring up a really good point. Dave, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to pick up a .22 and go down to the border and sit there in a little lawn chair and say, no, you're not coming through here. As citizens of this great country, America, why don't we have the right to protect our country and our families?
Well, they're going to call us out for trespassing and, possible violence and other things like that. And but I agree, at some point we may have to stand up and be the ones that secure our border and that. But, again, going back to this administration, I really hope that Trump and his people step up and just turn it over to the military. And I don't think the military has to be violent. I just think the fact with all of our, sophistication with our military and everything, they can stop people at the border, and they can also stop people from digging tunnels under the border to get in this country, because they're going to be able to watch for this stuff and detect it, and that's what we need down there. We need a system that can see what's going on and stop these people without being violent.
Yeah, but wait a minute. This is where I'm going to jump in, and we might differ. When you have smugglers that are carrying assault rifles, and they're basically thumbing their nose at our borders and our sovereignty, and they say, we're going to bring them in, you can't stop us, you're not going to put a military man, Army, National Guard, whatever, standing there just in his uniform with no protection for this country and himself. There has to be, I think, if it comes to that, armed confrontation when these smugglers are carrying guns that they want to kill our Border Patrol agents.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I didn't say that they shouldn't be armed. I think they ought to have anything they need down there, for anything that happens, from one extreme to another. And but I think they can. I think what I'm trying to say is what they can do is they can achieve this with minimal violence, and especially if it happens one or two times, I think the other side will wake up.
There's something else that needs to be said here, and as a father and a grandfather, I'm extremely concerned that nobody's talking about the disease factor. In this illegal alien caravan, they said there are also caravanners from Haiti, Cuba, and Africa. Now think about it, Dave. I don't think I'm jumping over the line here and just burning my hair for no reason. I'm being very honest. Nobody knows about their vaccination or immunization programs, if they've had any. Nobody knows about their diseases that they might be carrying and coming in here with, and especially with the Ebola virus so prominent in certain parts of Africa. My goodness, Dave, we can't afford this horror.
Well, that's exactly right, and you got to back up here. A lot of people, the far left and that, are saying, well, we're a nation of immigrants. We got to allow these people to come in. That's fine if they want to go through the due process and apply for, citizenship, and they go through the whole process and they make it through. Fine, but to come across our borders illegally, no. And by going through the process, they're going to be checked for all the background issues you just talked about and other things, and their criminal history and who they are and all that kind of stuff. And that's what if people come in from Europe or any other place else today, they have to go through that process. We can't allow these people to go through that without being checked.
Dave, I'm going to read you a 10-point checklist of some of these stances that the Democratic nominees, Bernie Sanders, along with Kamala Harris, others are standing up for on the Democratic ticket. I'm going to read these to you, and I want you to comment on the ones that you feel the most comfortable with. Number one, they want voting rights for felons and terrorists. They want reparations to black families. They want free college and debt forgiveness. They want the Green New Deal. They want to lower the voting age to 16. They are against the Second Amendment, no more sales of guns. They want to change and stack the Supreme Court. They do not want the Electoral College anymore. They do not want private health insurance companies in this company. They want a private payer, single payer, one size fits all. And they want the legalization of pot and marijuana. Now, with all those things considered, who in their right mind would want to vote for a Democrat?
A socialist.
There you go.
Bottom line. That's what this is all about, is socialism. And that's what these people want to bring into this country. And I have to tell you, it's like AOC and a bunch of these people that ran for office and been elected, and the ones that are running for the Democratic presidency. A lot of these are being backed by the unions, and they're starting to pour money in. Biden's being backed by him, and he's going out and saying he's for the unions and everything. And the SEIU, who we know have marched in the streets of California with the Communist Party, and some of these other unions who really want to bring this country down and make it into a socialistic country that they can control. And it's really sad when you look at places like Venezuela, that one time was the wealthiest country in South America and the most prosperous, because it was a free market society, and their oil exports and everything. And now it's down to the point where most of the people are poor people, and everybody's making the same money. Everybody gets this and everybody gets that, supposedly, but the people aren't doing very well. That's what they want to do here, because when they have people at a low level, they can control you.
Absolutely. I can't honestly verify this, but it was either Pete Buttigieg, the Democratic gay mayor from South Bend, Indiana, or it was a Bernie Sanders rally. I do not recall. I just was walking out of the living room the other evening, and I did not see the gist of the story. But behind either Buttigieg or Sanders were just absolutely hundreds, it looked like, of SEIU signs. And you and your thoughts came to mind after what you went through.
Yeah, well, the unions, and if you look at the statistics for the last year, and that the unions continue to go down, and they're losing membership, and union members are trying to get away from them, the unions are desperate, and they're going to do anything they can to keep the Democratic people in power, and they're going to spend a lot of money, and they're going to be out there, behind them, celebrating with them, and speaking in their behalf, and and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to see it. It's like, I don't know if you know, just to give you an example, up in Michigan, where the United Auto Workers is huge. Last year they lost 35,000 members because the membership is tired of the union bosses and what they're doing, and the fact that they always are behind the Democratic Party, and most of the dues money that is spent on politics goes to the Democratic Party. And I have to give the people credit that are union members. They're starting to wake up.
You said 35,000? I want to clarify I heard that right.
Yep.
Wow, that's got to be a real thumb in the eye. Wheels, we got a little bit of feedback over there, if you would, please. Dave, when you think about Bernie Sanders, I mean, wild-haired Bernie, he would be 80 before he took over the Oval Office. And look at Joe Biden. If he decides to run tomorrow, he'd be, I think, 78 or 79. I think, and I've said this to you before, and I think it should be imposed, that there needs to be an age requirement, not just on the youthfulness of the presidency, but also the elderliness of the presidency. Bernie Sanders at 80 years of age, if he wins as a socialist, and he'd be a one-term president, my goodness, think of the havoc and the chaos that man could wreak.
Oh, yeah, and quite honestly, again, he's behind the unions, and the unions are behind him, and, they want somebody like him to be president because they can go in and, basically run the office.
Absolutely. We've got a caller with a question. Caller, quickly, go ahead, please. You're on the air. And it's a dial tone. I have no idea where they went. I want to ask you a little bit. When you saw, if you did see the news clip of a younger person at a Bernie Sanders rally, which I'm not picking on the younger generation, because there's a lot of the millennials that are really got their feet on the ground, business owners, etc., and they know what's going on. But then there is a large majority that want everything free provided by the government. This one person stood up and asked about voting rights for felons, and Bernie Sanders gave her an answer that shocked me, that regardless of whether you're a murderer, a rapist, a terrorist, you should still have the right to vote. Absolutely not. This is something that I'm going to fight for, and I'm really going to demonize these people that stand up for that idiocy.
Well, that's right. And again, this is all about votes for them in the 2020 election, just like it is bringing immigrants across the border, because, they'll find a way to get them to the polls to vote, even though they're not legal Americans. And, they're just trying to find every vote they can get to take over the presidency, the House, and the Senate, and bring this country down.
Well, and the other thing with Elizabeth Warren, too, standing up there and just really blaring the trumpet for free college and the debt forgiveness to college students. Oh, they got so much money in debt, they can't afford to pay it back. Wait a minute, Dave. I do not know if your basketball scholarships paid for all your college education. It's none of my business. But I can tell you this, I paid for mine. I worked 2 jobs, and I went to school, graduated, graduate and graduated and had my degree, and here I am. And I've been very successful. Nobody paid my way. What are they going to do? Draw a line in the sand and say, oh, well, everybody from 1999 on will forgive your debt for college. But all of you other ones, you pay for it. This is ridiculous.
Well, it is. And again, Zeb, I hate to keep going back to this, but this is just a vote scenario. They're trying to get votes, and they get in these people's minds and brainwash them, saying these kids and the young millennials now, they're saying, oh yeah, they're going to do all this for me. I need to vote for them, and that's what this is all about, because they want to take over, and people need to wake up to this fact, and the millennials got to wake up to the fact that, if you're going to vote for people like this, do you want to end up like the people in Venezuela?
Yeah, absolutely. One final thought here this morning, and I must be missing something. Every day when I read the 4 or 5 newspapers I get, or every day when I turn on all the different shows and all the different networks to get a synopsis and a compilation of what's going on, would you please tell me what I've missed? How and why could you possibly impeach a president when there's no formal charges?
You can't, and they're just going to keep throwing that stuff out there, and it's unfortunate, but I have to tell you, it's the far left. A lot of the Democratic Party is really getting sick of this stuff, and they're tired of hearing this type of thing, and even Nancy Pelosi's backed off a little bit, and it's kind of interesting, and it's going to be interesting this next year how the Democratic Party continues to approach this and the deep state.
You mentioned Pelosi. Real quick answer on this. When I see her on television and standing up and saying, well, at this juncture, we're not exactly sure if we want to pursue with impeachment, but we'll wait and see. I see a woman that has lost control. I see a woman like a deer in the headlights, because she and the rest of the Democrats have let the power of that party go to a 29-year-old bartender and a couple of Muslim congresswomen, and they're scared.
Yeah, they are, and you have to understand, it's like the bartender at AOC. She's been backed by the unions and everything, and they're getting into these people's heads. And of course, the older people like Pelosi, it scares them that the unions and that are supporting these people, because Pelosi's afraid of losing her job. And the truth is, she needs to retire. She's been in office way too long. And their husband has a big enough company, they don't need the money.
Okay, Dave, I wished we had longer to talk. God bless you, man, and I just hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for sharing with us this morning again. My friend, businessman, author, just a really great guy, Dave Bego, back in Indianapolis, Indiana. There you go. And besides that, I said all those nice things because I still owe him a truckload of wine.
Well, you could keep doing it to me, and thanks for everything you had to say, and have a great week.
All right, God bless you, man. Thanks. Good friend, Dave Bego, thank you very much. I want to remind you about some other good friends that we've got, and that's, of course, our friends and your friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Spring clearance event. They walked into the warehouse and they said, aha, we're going to let this go at closeout prices that are unheard of. We're going to let this go at closeout prices that are unheard of. We're going to let the... Wow! I mean, and you're the one that's going to make all the saving. I am not kidding. They're having a warehouse mattress wipeout. Everything must go, and they're going to be saving you a lot of money. Let me give you an example. Like on a Simmons Beauty Sleep mattress, listen to this. Queen size was $9.99, now just $3.99. Are you kidding? I'm not. Check out all the flooring specials, everything. A spring clearance sale event going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Oberlin in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Caller, real fast. I've only got a minute. Real fast, go.
Well, I tried to get in with Dave, but okay. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in her district, she only got 16,000 votes because nobody cared. She just slipped in there. It was just a freak accident that she's there. And the Democratic Party is seeing her destroy so much of, people are she is destroying their party.
Well, wait a minute, Randy. I'm going to interrupt you right there. I'm going to put some other names with it that are involved in the demolition of the Democratic Party, and they include also Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib, and others. I just absolutely have no respect for these people with their anti-American, anti-ally of America program, and they all are kind of teaming together to be very despicable and tear apart a party of the Democrats that I think is worth saving if they can get their act together, but the way they're going, it's going to dissolve. It's very fragile.
Well, she only got 16,000 votes, and she will be primary. Even a Republican could maybe beat her.
Yeah.
So she won't last but 2 years. I think she will be gone, and she's too stupid to realize it, so let's thank God.
All right. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks, Randy. He's spot on. I'd like to see her go down in a hail of no votes. There you go. I want to remind you before we go to our next guest about Let's Ride. Oh, with the weather forecast for this weekend, you need to get out and enjoy the great Idaho outdoors. Well, get on a four-wheeler and go. Go! Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World has all the four-wheelers, all the side-by-sides. Oh, my goodness. A showroom that is crammed full of fun. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4, along with all the four-wheelers and the fun. They've got all the accessories, and they've got a service department to keep you running. Absolutely. Stop over to Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World today, because it's true. This is where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. I am very anxious to talk to our next guest. And she was recommended to me by a friend of this program, Gregory Wrightstone, a man that I have a lot of respect for. And her name is Susan Crockford, and she has a book called The Polar Bear Catastrophe That Never Happened. Good morning, Susan. How are you?
I'm just fine. Thanks very much.
You know, it's a treat to have you on the program, and you and I have never met. We've never talked before, basically. Tell me a little bit about Susan Crockford that my audience and myself would like to know.
Well, for a start, I'm Canadian. I live in Victoria, BC, on the west coast, where we are in full-blown spring. And I am a zoologist, specializing in animals of the Arctic and other regions, but I've been recently specializing in polar bears and walrus.
Okay, and I've always said, and I mean this when I say this, that the people in Canada on the west side of the country are 10 times smarter than the east side of the country. I'm sure you'd concur.
Well, that's an interesting observation.
I've got a lot of friends up there in Canada, and by golly, I appreciate you being on the show. Listen, let's talk about...
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. The polar bear catastrophe that never happened. Gee, I'm getting a feeling like maybe you're talking about all the threats and all the fears that were thrown at us about the polar bears are going to fall off the ice that's melting and they're going to drown, Al Gore, etc. Give us a little background on this book.
Well, it's really the story of what happened when in sort of the lead up to polar bears being put on the endangered species list in the U.S. All of the research that was been done and the predictions that were made at the time, and that was 2007, and compared to now. More than 10 years later, when we've got a whole bunch of information about what has actually happened and how that's really played out, and particularly what it's meant for the role of polar bears as the favorite icon of the global warming movement.
Mm-hmm. Now, in layman's terminology, so that even an old cowboy like me can understand it, what really did happen or is happening as compared to all the fears and the hair burning on the left like Al Gore?
Well, what is happening is that polar bears are thriving. And it turned out that the decline in sea ice that was predicted to occur by mid-century, so by 2050, actually occurred decades before it was expected. So that decline started at least in 2007, and sea ice at the height of the summer has been that low ever since 2007. But polar bears did not plummet. Polar bear numbers didn't plummet. In fact, they have continued to rise, as they have been doing since they were granted international protection in 1973.
Okay, now, with that being said, though, Susan, the left is out there with their little bitty TV advertisements and their stories in the newspaper, and those that are clamoring to come on my program and tell me that I'm a bigot and a hate monger because I don't believe in climate change / global warming. So here you are coming out and telling the facts. What's happened to you? Did they come after you and try to demagogue you also?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things they did a couple of years ago was to actually publish a paper in a scientific journal trying to demonstrate that I had no ethics and that I didn't have the qualifications to promote such an opinion. But in fact, I mean, anyone who would be reading that piece would see that it was a hit piece, and continually calling me a denier, when in fact what I have done, what I have been doing for several years now, is just to look at the information that polar bear scientists and sea ice scientists have been publishing in the scientific literature and putting that together with what's actually happening. So I'm using their data against them, and that irritates them to no end.
Susan, you know, I'm sure you've thought of this question 1,000 times, and so have I, but I've got to ask you. I've talked to Gregory Wrightstone and so many others regarding this question. What is it about our not believing in their climate change hoax that scares them so much they will go to any limits?
Well, in the case of polar bears, I think that the scientists involved are really they're protecting their jobs, they're protecting their careers.
Okay.
And I have a measure of sympathy because doing research in the Arctic is extremely expensive. It's hard work. It's unpleasant work. You're working in the cold, and so they have always had trouble getting funding. And when global warming came on the scene and provided a handy, what would you call it, an all-encompassing focus for their research, they just grabbed onto it like a lifeline. But what's happened is that now their own data is showing that what they once believed to be true back in 2006, 2007 was wrong.
Yeah.
But they're refusing to admit it. And it's the refusal to let go that shows their lack of real scientific ethics.
To use your words that you just said, a portion of your words, when global warming came on the scene, I can remember vividly when this perpetrated hoax was thrown at the American public by Al Gore and others. And I said at the time, and I can back it up by going into the archives and producing the tapes of this program, I said it's nothing more than a hoax to get the liberals and the Democrats and the powers that be in this world behind the scenes. Nothing more than a 7-letter word, and that word is control. Would you agree with me or not?
Well, you could very well be right. But, from my perspective, I'm a scientist. And I came into this issue, and what I was looking at was the scientific evidence regarding what's happening with polar bears. And so I have tried very hard to stick to my focus, which is examining what's going on with polar bears as an example of what's going on within the bigger picture of the global warming concept.
All right, now with your document,
take that as they wish.
Okay.
And I really strive to present all of the evidence so that people can make up their own mind.
Absolutely.
So when it comes time to make a political decision, that they have all the facts they need to make up their mind about what's happening.
Yeah, but right there I got to stop you and interrupt you, Susan, because that's not what the left wants. The left wants us, you and I and others of my ilk, to bite onto the hook of global warming / climate change and not ask any questions, not refer to any scientific data or not scientific data. They want us to follow in lockstep, and what they say is absolutely right, and we should shut up and be good kids or else. That's what they want. I won't do that. I've had too many great people on my program that are scientists that disagree with this, and they say that we're in a cyclical change, and absolutely the world's been having cyclical weather patterns ever since God created the earth. And I'm sick and tired of being forced or coerced into being followed or following them lockstep into a philosophy and theory that I think is going to break the world.
Well, you know, you're right in that regard. And one of the things that really disturbs me is the pattern of trying to scare people, uneducated or gullible people, children, with images of drowning polar bears, starving polar bears, which is meant to deliberately manipulate, to encourage people to have an emotional reaction, to feel something about global warming rather than to think about what's going on and use their intellectual capabilities.
Well, now, with all your study, and again, you and I have never met, we've never talked before, just briefly setting up this appointment for this segment, but with all your data and all your studies and all the things that you've compiled over the many years, why aren't they listening to you? Why aren't they reading it and going, woo, boy, you've done a thorough study on this, and perhaps you're right, you're on the right track. But they're not doing that.
No, and that's pretty typical, actually, for science, I have discovered in my advanced age, is that people who often challenge from the fringe, but I'm not so much worried about them. I know that other people are listening to me, and that's the important thing.
But, you know, the entirety of this problem, we're all going to burn in 12 years, according to a bartender that's now a congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The unknowledgeable are using scare tactics to get everybody to follow like lemmings going over a cliff instead of sitting down. Both sides, and I say this a long time on my program, both sides sitting down and sharing the information and coming up with a general consensus, but the left won't do that.
Yeah, I know, and truly, and that's why what I try to do is expose the manipulation and show people why the images that they're being shown are false, so that they can pull back from that emotional response and start thinking about the issue.
Well,
for me, that's my role as a scientist, and I understand that your role as a commentator is different. But my role is to educate.
And I respect that. I absolutely respect that. With that education factor, though, where are you now, and where are you going to be in this study or perhaps other related studies in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I expect to continue to hold scientists to the data. And in this case, it's holding them to the data that they've collected. And because what's happening is that the information that is in scientific papers is not what they're telling the public.
And why do you think that is? Why do they want to mislead the public? What's their bottom line and their reasoning?
Well, as I said before, I think it's protecting their profession.
Absolutely. Money.
It's protecting their jobs.
Absolutely.
And in a way that is corrupting the science.
Do you look at this situation? Let me ask you this. I'm not trying to put you in a political hotspot here, but it's a question I think needs to be asked. Do you think that if in 2020 President Trump does not retain the presidency and we get someone like Kamala Harris or, God forbid, Bernie Sanders as president of this country, I'm really afraid as to what might happen with all the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that will be spent over something that is so foolish and catastrophic. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, part of the reason that I'm a scientist, and you have to understand this, is that I actually don't follow politics very closely. It's not an issue that interests me, and I do understand that it's a critical component here. But I have to trust that the work that I'm doing and that people like Gregory Wrightstone are doing to try and keep scientists honest is going to make a critical difference.
I just want to tell you now, this book, please help me on this a little bit, The Polar Bear Catastrophe That Never Happened. I understand it's in paperback. How can my audience please get a copy of this book?
Well, it's available in paperback. It's also in an ebook format, for those who would like to use that. But it's available on Amazon, and links to it, where you'll find it if they want to, something to grab onto for their mind to remember later, is at my blog, which is just called Polar Bear Science.
Okay.
And they can find links to where the book is available at that website.
Well, you've been a very pleasant lady to come on our program. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I've got to get a copy of this and read it. And my thanks to Gregory Wrightstone for leading me to your telephone number to get you on the show. Susan, I hope that you'll consent to come back in the future if I give you a call. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. God bless. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Very interesting lady, a scientist, that says in her book, The Polar Bear Catastrophe That Never Happened, written by Susan Crockford. Very interesting. Wow. What have I got to do here? Oh, the weather. I'm almost on time for a change. That's interesting. Don't forget our weather brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Oh my. Tax return preparation, they just finished with a big run, I'll tell you. Tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. Please get a hold of them today. Let them help you, your family, and your business. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, the lovely Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this final Wednesday of the month, and it is going to be a nice day, but breezy, mostly sunny skies. Expecting a high of 70. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour, increasing by this afternoon, and we could have gusts of about 32 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 42. Those winds are going to be continuing, but decreasing as we make our way through the overnight hours. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, just a slight breeze with a high of 73. By tomorrow night, we do have a slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms after midnight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 50. By Friday, slight chance of rain showers or thunderstorms are possible afternoon. Partly sunny skies as we get towards the evening hours, high of 69. Going to be breezy as well Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 41. Then for the weekend, looks like sunny skies and upper 60s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebba Duran.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. As I said, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years and serving you and your family and business into the future. With offices in Burley and Rupert, remember the professionals, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to you. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. And, there's a verse in Isaiah chapter 59, verse 15, that kind of encompasses everything that's going on in our world today. Listen to this. Yes, truth is gone, and anyone who denounces evil is attacked. Think about that. You know, I don't mind going toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose with anybody that thinks they know more than the Bible, and I certainly refer to the Bible a lot on my program. But I happened to come across that verse, and I thought, how appropriate for where we are today. Yes, truth is gone. If you state the truth, whether you're talking about the LGBT movement and transgenderism in our society and the lies that are perpetrated, whether you're talking about climate change and the lies that are perpetrated, whether you're talking about politics and the lies that are perpetrated, yes, truth is gone. And anyone who denounces evil is attacked. Think about those words. I mean, I wrote that up this morning quickly on a sticky pad, and I thought, wow, that sums it up right now, today, for everything that's going on. Anybody that speaks up about the way things were, that were honest and truthful, is being attacked and demonized. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yeah, please give me a call. Love to hear from you. And I also want to remind you, too, about life insurance, health insurance, and employee benefits. I know some folks that really, really are caring and very helpful and are dedicated to serving you, and that's, of course, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call and make an appointment, easy number to remember, 436-4424. 4424. You can't forget that. So give them a call today, make an appointment, and let them serve you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice people. Come on, give me a call quickly, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ilhan Omar, as I said earlier this morning, is never at a loss to put her foot in her mouth, and she's done it again. This evil Muslim congresswoman that I wished would get defeated in the next election and never see our political system again, actually slammed in her verbiage the soldiers of Black Hawk Down in Somalia. And instead of feeling sorrow for our soldiers, she said she felt bad for our United States soldiers that killed the enemy Somalis. How despicable. How despicable. Ilhan Omar, with many other comments that make you wonder, how in the world could her constituents from her area ever want to have someone like her representing them in the halls of Congress? Absolutely despicable. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, I have just a moment. I think my next guest just arrived. Representative Fred Wood will be here next hour. I want to remind you about two great big sales that are going to be held this week, one on Friday, one on Saturday, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. And the first one's going to be Friday, April 26th, this Friday at 11 o'clock, and that's the Henry Schutte auction. I know Henry, I have for a long time, good old boy. And they're located in Eden, Idaho at 1568 East, 1100 south of Eden. Don't forget to watch for all the signs of the Bennett Boys Auction Service. Excellent tractors and trailers, farm equipment, irrigation items, lawn and garden items, everything at this Henry Schutte auction this Friday at 11 o'clock. Then on Saturday, don't forget over in Gooding, the Bennett boys are going to have another sale, and this is going to be the Wileen Whitfield Estate Auction at 10 o'clock on Saturday, and it's at Gooding, Idaho, 1890 Floral Avenue in Gooding. Lots and lots of antiques and collectibles, things that you just can't find hardly anywhere else, furniture and appliances, household items, all of this, and it's managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, yep, they sell them all. Don't forget about that. We are going to be having next hour, my dear friend Representative Fred Wood has taken his time this morning from a busy schedule to graciously come up and kind of, if you will, give us a little recap of what happened during the legislative session. And he looks so prim and proper, his hair's combed perfectly, wearing a light blue shirt. Man, you talk about professional. I'm sitting here, kind of dirty old farm boy. But he's going to be here next hour, and we're also going to be talking about immunizations, a program that I absolutely will not weaken, I will not back up, and I will not capitulate. I've had quite a few emails over the last couple of weeks, and we're going to be talking to Fred about this, of certain segments in Magic Valley that find it deplorable that I would cast aspersions on certain parents that are not vaccinating their children. I'm not going to back up, as I said. We're looking at an outbreak of measles, for example, that's the biggest it's ever been in this United States for 25 years. 25 years. And we're also hearing horrendous stories of death from the measles of over 1,200 people that have died recently in Madagascar because of the measles outbreak. That's just one of the problems with a lack of immunization and a lack of caring and a lack of respect by parents not getting their children immunized. We're going to talk about that next hour. Want to remind you, too, that tomorrow on the program at 10:30, one of my favorite guests from down in Texas is going to be on the program, Maria Espinoza, and she's right there on the border, seeing firsthand what's going on and her fears about this mother of all caravans coming in as cell phones are already popping off, and she's going to tell us about that huge caravan on the way to the border of the United States. Right now, we're going to send it back over to Wheels. We'll be back in 7 minutes. And a good morning to you. Hour number 3 on a beautiful Wednesday, April the 24th. April 24th. Why, it seems like yesterday we were wrapping Christmas presents. Well, and by the way, we still haven't got Jake's Christmas presents to him, so we might still be wrapping Christmas presents. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale going on right now for all the tires you need for safe driving. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to have a dear friend on the program with us momentarily. I want to remind you, too, about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox with their home comfort systems, and they're offering you up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. You better check it out today. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 or visit them online at RamseyHeatingandElectricOnline.com. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Don't you forget that. Real quick, too, we want to mention our friends at Dino Septic Service. They do a job that you and I don't want to do. I don't want to be standing out there pumping a septic tank. I don't want to be out there cleaning sewer and sink drain lines. No. They do the job, and they do it with a smile on their face. They've recently expanded their business to better serve more people in the Magic Valley area. Dino Septic Service, don't forget to give them a call, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service with that big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Maybe that wasn't an appropriate ad to follow with my next guest. involved in the dirty works of politics sometimes, hard work of politics, and trying to keep everybody happy, and that's not going to happen in today's age. I am blessed to have this man take time to come here to the studio and talk about not only the legislative session that just concluded, but also another issue with immunizations. Representative Fred Wood, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Well, good. Are you rested a little bit from a exhaustive session?
I am.
What does one do after you hear the final thump of the gavel from Bedkey? What do you do? Just run out the door like your hair's on fire, or what do you do?
Well, when it goes longer than it should, like it did this year, you're pretty much ready to go. And so, yeah, you get the heck out of Dodge as quick as you can. And most of us from rural areas, we just want to get back home. Boise is just... it's not an alien place, but it's just a place that you'd rather not be after you've been there for a few months.
Absolutely. Now, you said the session was an elongated session this year. In time duration, how many more days longer than average was it?
I think, if memory serves me correctly, traditionally we have been winding up in about 78 days. This year, I think we were at 95 days.
Oh, my.
And it's the third longest session. I was there for the second longest session right after I started in the legislature. That was terrible. We went to May, pretty close to the middle.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was grim.
I need you to move that a little closer.
Okay.
Fred, all that being said, I mean, how in the world do you look at every day with the pitfalls and the problems of a problem like Medicaid expansion? And there seem to be both sides of the issue at loggerheads. That's why there was such a time expansion on the session this year. Did the problem get solved to the point where we're not going to see it rear its ugly head again, or is it just kind of an elongated problem?
Zeb, there were 3 or 4 issues that we really got wrapped around the axles about. And none of them were solved completely so that they're not going to come back. They will all be back to some extent. Medicaid, no exception. What we did is we passed a bill amending Prop 2 to some extent and requesting 4 different waivers. 2 of those waivers have never been granted to a state before. 1 waiver has been granted to every state that asks. That's the IMD waiver or the mental health waiver.
Right.
And then the work requirement waiver has been granted to multiple states. The question is whether the one that we have proposed is going to be accepted, and if it is accepted, then whether it will survive a court challenge.
Yeah.
Because they'll all be challenged in court the second that people are removed from the program. So we never put to rest completely or to bed completely those 3 or 4 real issues that we got wrapped around the axles about.
You know, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this morning, but I think it bears some questions and answers on this. Amending Prop 2. I mean, the way that the Prop 2 was worded and the net result of the voters saying, yes, they wanted the Medicaid expansion, and then the actual applicable viewpoints of Prop 2, how it was going to work, how is this going to be paid for, who qualifies, is there going to be a work part of the program. There were a lot of things that had to be figured out and finalized in the session, and a lot of things I don't think people were prepared for.
I don't think a lot of people had thought forward enough to determine particularly about the financing.
I agree with you.
And as a matter of fact, I just got a letter this morning from the Speaker appointing me as co-chair to an interim committee.
Oh, I bet you're happy about that.
Seems like whenever there's an interim committee, I don't know why he looks my way, but anyway, I guess that's a compliment, and I do accept it as that. But the fact is that we need to figure out, we're spending plenty of money at this point in time and getting precious little for it with respect to health care for a lot of these programs in the Department of Health and Welfare, et cetera, et cetera. So the Interims Committee's charge is to figure out which programs can go by the wayside, which programs can be replaced, and just exactly how should we be financing the expansion of this Medicaid population, whatever that turns out to be, going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to, Senator Rice is going to co-chair from the Senate side. We're getting together next week to plan out the meetings for the year, et cetera. And so as we go along, I'll be happy to come back and give you reports on that, and we'll be ready to give a report to the legislature on what our opinion is as to how, and our recommendations are, as to how we ought to fund that going forward.
Fred, one of the questions I've had, and I probably will ask it in a naive form, it might be a much better way of stating it, but I remember on a program that you and I had a long time ago regarding Medicaid expansion, when it was coming up for a vote, and I asked about the cap on the numbers. How do you figure a budget for some program when you really don't have a cap on the numbers of possible eligibility that could be increased twofold? I mean, you could be seeing a great big enhanced numbers. How do you budget for that?
Well, that's one of the real problems, because federal law, they won't let you expand Medicaid and put a cap on it. And Idaho is one of the fastest growing states in the United States. As a matter of fact, I was just reading that Canyon and Ada County last census had 581,000 people. They just turned 712,000 people, and by the next census, they're going to probably be at 725,000 people.
Wow.
So if you can't put a cap on it, so how are we going to pay for this going to the future? I mean, that's a very legitimate concern of every single member of the legislature, including mine. So that's one of the things that we've got the interim committee doing, because they won't let you put a cap on it. And I can understand that. You can't say, okay, if you're the first 25 here, you get this, and anybody after that, you don't.
Yeah.
I don't care whether it's fish and game tags or whatever it is. That's a real problem. So, we got wrapped around the axles about a bunch of issues, and you know what, Zeb? Legitimately so. I mean, that's not a bad reflection of the legislature. The fact is we're trying to plan for a stable economy in the state of Idaho, making sure that we never overspend,
right?
Making sure that we're fiscally conservative, but yet we're growing like weeds in a field in terms of population.
What is the projection that you hear about, let's say, over the next 5 or 10 years, population increase?
I don't know, but come reapportionment, okay, right now, Ada County has 9 legislative districts. Canyon County has 4 legislative districts and a little bit more than that. They're going to pick up 3 legislative districts. Do you know what that means for rural Idaho?
Well, it's an overslanting of the teeter-totter.
Political power follows the people, and Ada and Canyon counties are growing like crazy, and the rest of us aren't, with the exception of Twin Falls County and a couple of others. So
in other words, basically,
there's major political shift going to occur in Idaho here pretty quick.
There won't be, in the future, the way the population is growing in those respective areas, equal representation for other parts of the state.
Political influence from the rural areas is going to decrease, and that's really every single person involved in agriculture, every single person involved in a rural lifestyle and a rural environment should be very concerned.
In a world where you could just sit down in 5 minutes with a little group and everybody show their hands, yay or nay, on this Medicaid expansion, to me, the problem is exacerbated now with a whole bunch of people that want to do different things, and I don't see much more solving of this than before the session started.
Well, I think that a couple of things will determine how we go in the future. First of all, the success of the interim committee. We literally have to delineate exactly how we're going to fund this over the next 10 years for sure. Secondly, we made a bunch of assumptions, and we had the state actuarial Milliman, who does most of the state actuarial studies. If all of those things turn out to be true, then I think that we can put a bunch of the controversy behind us, but it'll take until 2021 to even know those numbers.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Because remember, this program doesn't start until January the 1st of next year.
Yeah.
Okay? And so you're going to have at least a year of data to start making any presumptions or predictions. If those predictions turn out to be true, that's going to help a whole lot. If they turn out to all be false, that's going to really present a problem.
One of the issues, I wanted to ask you about this because you knew my stand on the Medicaid expansion, that those that are able-bodied and able to work should work at least a certain amount of time to qualify. There seems to be a lot of dissension over this, and a lot of people saying, oh, well, those poor people, you can't force them to work and everything. I do, you do, everybody else has to work to pay their bills. Why shouldn't there be some encumbrance of having to work for the Medicaid proposal?
I don't think that there's anybody that I ran into that doesn't believe that able-bodied people should work to receive the benefits. Okay? Now, the question hinged, and the arguments hinged on two things. Exactly what is that definition? If you're mentally ill, and I don't mean mentally ill to the point to where you can't function,
right?
But I mean if you're have certain mental illnesses that you basically nobody wants to hire you. So, yeah. Okay, I mean, yeah, you can function.
Yeah.
You can function enough to drive, etc. But, I mean, no employer in their right mind would ever want to hire you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you have that interface that people really got wrapped around the axles about. And then the other thing that really caused the problem is what kind of reporting requirements should we have? Okay? Well, if I'm working, and this is the example that I used when I debated the issue on the floor of the House. So I showed up 13 years ago and went on the state insurance. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever checks to determine whether I show up for work or I don't show up for work, how many hours a week I work, or anything else. It's just the fact that I'm a state employee and nobody... You know, so I go hunting the month of September with my brother all of the time.
Right.
So should I have to prove I work in September or not? And the way the bill was written is that people have to show that they're actually working 20 hours per week and they have to report that on a monthly basis. Now, that's not real. I mean, that's not the way you ought to be doing it. Yes, you should have to work. Yes, at such and such a time, you have to show that you've actually been working. And the way we do it with the SNAP program is that every 6 months, okay, they run through the database, they check and make sure that you're still getting a paycheck from XYZ company or whatever, and then that's all that's required.
Right.
Okay? But this went much, much, much further. And so if the feds decide that they are not going to accept our work requirement provisions in our waiver request, it's going to be based on that, I think, because it's an unrealistic reporting requirement as opposed to a realistic reporting requirement.
You know, the Medicaid expansion, Fred, bottom line, very simplified for me and the audience out there. Medicaid expansion, it would help a lot of people. It might deter a lot of the misuse, if you will, of emergency room services, and it would help, I think, in the long run, tell me if I'm wrong, curtail and cut a lot of exorbitant hospital costs. Am I wrong, or is that a good way to say it?
No, that's a good way to say it, because we're going to try and put them into programs where patient-centered medical homes, etc., where they know where their medical home is, they know how they're supposed to get in touch with them, they know where to go on Sundays and Saturday nights and whatever, and it's not the emergency department or other places like that, and they're supposed to show up when they're supposed to show up, and get their annual examination and all of their preventive stuff.
Absolutely.
That's the whole part and parcel to doing this.
One last thought about the last legislative session and what were, if you want to comment on them, other issues that really elongated the session. I mean, that really didn't get, like you said, wrapped around the axle and nothing really got finished or concrete. What are some of those other issues that we're going to see come up again in 2020?
One of the real issues is going to be the issue of what are we going to do with rules. A second issue is going to be they'll make another attempt at Marcy's Law. Another real big issue that really probably got the whole angst of the legislature and started everything wrapping around the axle is this issue of the proposition requirements, and if you remember correctly, Senate Bill 1159 passed the Senate. It was extremely controversial. They want, it's pretty tough to get propositions on the ballot. I mean, in Idaho, we have one of the tougher ones in the country that actually allow propositions or allow citizens to make law equal with the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
I think, if memory serves me correctly, we've only ever had 30 ever be put in front of the people, and only 15 of them actually ever passed.
Wow.
It's not abused in the state of Idaho. And let's take, for instance, your favorite and mine, medical marijuana. They've tried to put medical marijuana on for the last, I don't know how many times, and it's failed.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do it again, and I just heard the Attorney General this morning ruled that it was unconstitutional the way they tried to do it. So, it's tough to do.
Why, in your opinion, as a legislator, and pardon my interruption, and you can see this happening in Colorado, Oregon, Washington, across the board, a relaxing of moral and family values, and it goes right on through the state legislatures for the passing and allowance of a lot of these things that are derogatory to our society. That's my own opinion.
Yeah, I get that. And, Zeb, for whatever complaints anybody has about the state legislature or any state legislature, I think Bruce Newcomb, the old Speaker of the House and a good friend of both of ours, always used to say, all you're getting in the legislature is you're just getting the gate cut of a herd of cattle. And those people that come to the legislature pretty much reflect their communities, okay? And if they don't, over a period of time, they're not there anymore. But the people who come there are a reflection of their communities.
Right.
Well, if you look at what's happening in Colorado and California and Washington and Oregon and Idaho, and Idaho is completely the opposite of every state that I mentioned, that's just a gate cut of the population of that state.
Absolutely.
And what that says for the future of America, I don't know. But it worries me from time to time.
I've got 3 minutes before I have to take a hard break here at the bottom of the hour. We have a quick phone call. Caller, keep it short and concise. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, Representative Wood, I know this is off the subject a little bit. I have to talk to you while I can. On I-84, going between here and Twin, they're working on a bridge. I could have swore they fixed that bridge last year, and I was wondering, I would call the Idaho Department of Transportation myself, but it's hard to get through. I only end up in Twin. But I was wondering, did they not do their job right? Or if you don't know, how do I find out? But we're funneling traffic through in the summer when it's dangerous, and maybe Knife River is not the answer to our problems here with our highways. I'll hang up.
Thank you for your call. Fred, I've got about 2 minutes in this segment. Go ahead.
Caller, my phone number is 208-312-1056. please call me at the end of the show. And I think they've been working on the bridge for 10 years, not 1 year, and they still haven't got it fixed. And I'll see if I can find out an answer for you and get that back to you. So call me after the program. Thanks.
Excellent. And again, that number, 312-1056.
Right, and all the listeners can call me anytime they want to.
All right, Fred. Representative Fred Wood on our program this morning, and we're going to take a little break, send it back over to Wheels, and then we're going to come back and talk about a subject that's very passionate and means a lot to me, and that's immunizations, and we're going to have him on the air in just a moment. Once again, I want to remind everybody about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Don't forget they teamed up for all your home comfort systems. I urge you, if you're in the market for a new home comfort system, to get a hold of them today. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459, and you can get a home comfort system. They're offering up to $1,700 in rebates. Check it out today. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, and Ramsey Heating and Electric located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Back over to Wheels. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. Zeb at the Ranch, final half hour with Representative Fred Wood. Very, very honored to have him here in our studio. I'm going to state this very simply and succinctly. I'm a victim of polio from 1952. The Salk vaccine had not yet been perfected. I would give anything had it been perfected, and I would have had the opportunity to have a vaccination, never to have that dreaded disease. I would not wish polio or any other disease of that nature or any nature on any child or any family. It's devastating. And unfortunately, it's raising its ugly head again. We are seeing various strains of polio creep up around various parts of this United States. We are seeing other diseases come back out of obscurity and come back in this United States, namely measles as one of the ones in the forefront. That's one of the main reasons I wanted Fred to come on the program this morning as a former family doctor and understands the problems that are going on right now. Fred, why? Why are immunization programs, vaccination programs, being scoffed at by so many parents today to put their children in jeopardy?
Okay, that's an excellent question, Zeb. And I thought about that for the last couple of days when you invited me on the program. First of all, I think it's important to remember one thing. I listened to the program coming out here before, and that doctor from Canada that you had on, that's a zoologist that studied polar bears.
Yes.
Okay, what she was saying is every single issue in life today, when you apply that issue to politics, the first thing that happens is that it's monetized, and the next thing that happens is that it's weaponized. Every single issue, people want to make money off of it, and secondly, they want to use it as a weapon either for themselves or against somebody. And the immunization issue, that's happened to the immunization issue just like every other issue. I think the real problem when it comes to immunizations is there's an awful lot of information that is not scientifically correct, and it is being spread for monetized value and weapons value. But the average citizen is looking at the immunization issue through the prism of risk. And the problem is that they're losing sight of the context of risk. And this is, and almost all of the information that is being, if you just go to the non-scientific websites, or worse yet, political websites, the scientific information is simply not correct. And let me put it this way in real life. Okay, I practiced medicine for better than 35 years, including military service time, and I was in Burley for 30 years. I practiced here for 30 years. And I don't know how many immunizations that I gave, and I don't know how many, and I have no idea of the number, but a whole bunch. In my 35-plus years, I never saw a single serious vaccine injury. Localized, yes. All of them temporary. All of them go away. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say that they don't happen. They do. I'm just telling you about my experience. But if I'm average by any stretch of the imagination of an average practitioner who practices for 35 years, okay, I think this is fairly accurate. What did I see for people who weren't? Well, let's take chickenpox. I mean, nobody presumes that chickenpox is going to be a serious disease, and in children it's not. But varicella or chickenpox in an adult is a very serious disease. I had 2 patients come into the emergency department here in Burley, Idaho, and they died shortly after I got them to Salt Lake. Adult chickenpox can kill people. They die from that disease, or they certainly can. Secondly, the meningitis vaccine, meningococcal meningitis, which is the adult meningitis that adults get when they congregate. I personally saw 3 patients. 2 died in Salt Lake. 1 did not, but was missing some body parts by the time that he survived that ordeal. And then I had 2 good friends, both from northern Idaho, whose kids wound up with that disease. 1 died, 1 survived, as freshmen in college. But I never saw a single death or a single serious injury from vaccines for all of the ones that I gave. So the problem is that people aren't looking at this from an appropriate risk point of view. They're looking at it from risk. And they're worried about, if my kid gets an immunization, is there going to be a bad reaction from it? Well, that's a possibility, yes. But there's a significantly greater possibility of not being immunized.
Let me go from there. I mean, I've had some criticism, a lot of emails in the last couple of months, phone calls, and people have been very critical of my stance on, I think that it should be so much tougher for children to get into a school system, any school system, without the proper vaccinations. I maintain that I'm going to be a torch carrier for tougher and more stringent requirements to make sure the parents have their kids immunized. I'm not going to weaken on this. I've been in the iron lung. I had the polio. I've laid around and had 17 surgeries. I've seen my life change, not for the better, because of post-polio syndrome. So for polio, and you know this is true, to rear its head in maybe different fashions and forms coming in from other countries, and it's been across the United States, or the measles, or whatever the case might be, and this doesn't have to happen. Not in 2019. This does not have to happen. Our immunization program should and could and will work, but they're not being allowed to because of parents and various factors saying no to vaccines.
I would agree with you. I really think that the issue of some of the exemptions that we have, basically an exemption of no reason, I just don't want to do it, or whatever your personal philosophy is. Although I still think a lot of it, they're looking through the prism of risk, but they just don't have the correct information to make that. But wherever you congregate people, okay, my stepson and his wife just had premature twins December the 9th of 2017. and we've had them all over Facebook, etc. So most people know them, and it scares you to death to think that those kids would someday go to either daycare or they go to the first grade, etc. And premature kids do carry a risk of increase that disease processes, etc., for a few years. That they would come across. Now they're completely immunized, but why should they even be subjected to that? Because not all immunizations have an efficacy rate of 100%.
Exactly.
And so you're running into a real risk by not doing that. So I'm in your camp. If you want to argue, you're going to have somebody else on the program.
I wanted you to reiterate and basically reinforce my feelings about this. Now, we're going to have to rapid fire some of this because an hour isn't enough with you. I apologize for that. I wish I had more. What about the fact, and I've read some of this and talked to some people across the United States, that immunizations after 1957 probably still are having a residual effect in most Americans. But what about immunizations prior to 1957? Are the elderly and senior citizens in our country running a risk of being subjected to diseases they thought they were immunized for, but maybe the immunity factors faded or long gone died, and now with the resurgence of these diseases, are they open again for another threat?
They certainly can be, and particularly look at what's happened with measles. The adults that are 40, 50, 60 years old who either they were immunized, but the early measles immunization, some of those only had an efficacy rate of like 50%. Their effective rate was only 50% or so. It's gotten much better, but there are varieties of measles, and some significantly more virulent than others. The adult population, even the older adult population, can certainly be at risk for the highly contagious ones.
As a doctor and a physician that's devoted his life to medicine and now a legislator, how do we tighten things up? I've been told that the only group or body that can make it tougher on school districts to say, no, that child's not coming in here unless they're immunized, is the legislative session. Can we make it tougher?
We could certainly make an attempt to do that. Now, I don't know. That's a political question, and I don't know what the answer would be to that. The legislature right now has a real populist streak in it, and a real anti-regulation, not so much anti-government, but anti-regulation by government, and particularly into our personal lives. And too many people consider this a personal issue. It's not. It's a public health issue.
That's exactly right.
It's a public health issue. And when it comes to public health issues, there simply has to be regulations, et cetera.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Caller, I'm really short on time. Please keep it short. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm just a few years younger than you, Zeb, and I'm thankful for the polio vaccine. But I got chicken pox, I got mumps, I got measles, and I got them twice. I went and had a shot, and then I got them after that. And I know you've just talked about that, only about 50%. But I guess I've seen, and you've talked about this, where some have gone and gotten shots and had reactions and stuff from. I had a daughter. We gave our kid shots. She got a great big deal on her leg, and we had to go in and have it all lanced out from where they gave her the shot. But anyway, I thought I'd bring that up and let you talk about that.
I appreciate that, caller. Thank you very much. Fred, I'm never going to disavow that maybe there are, and I hate to use this terminology, minimal risks that you will have a reaction. I'm going to use that terminology. But the benefits of literally hundreds of thousands, millions of people that would be curtailed from getting polio or measles or whatever is so much more beneficial. My question at that point would be, are there tests prior to the vaccinations or immunizations that would show that there may be somewhat of a subjected risk by the patient? Do they have anything available like that?
They do. Particularly any vaccine that has egg product in it. And you know, some of the vaccines use chicken eggs, some use duck eggs, etc.
Like the flu virus?
Exactly. Now, they also have a flu virus now that is in cell culture, animal cell culture, that does not use eggs. But if you have any type of egg allergy, and there can be severe allergies to eggs, although people normally know that. But you can do skin tests to determine if you're allergic to several components of some of the vaccines. So, yes, there is methodologies to screen for that.
Okay, I've got to do a weather forecast, and we'll do that quickly, and I want to come back and talk to you about another aspect of this problem. Our weather brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and his very, very efficient crew at 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website for all of these delicious meats at scarrowsmeats.com. Don't forget, over in Jerome, all the tri-tips and the marinated pork ribs, the breakfast sausages, the bratwurst, all of this and so much more from Scarro's Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this final Wednesday of the month, and it is going to be a nice day but breezy, mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 70. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour, increasing by this afternoon, and we could have gusts of about 32 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 42. Those winds are going to be continuing but decreasing as we make our way through the overnight hours. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, just a slight breeze with a high of 73. By tomorrow night, we do have a slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms after midnight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 50. By Friday, slight chance of rain showers or thunderstorms are possible. Afternoon, partly sunny skies as we get towards the evening hours, high of 69. Going to be breezy as well. Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 41. Then for the weekend, looks like sunny skies and upper 60s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee.
Oh, hold on to your hat. Thank you, Gina. Weather forecast brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and his great staff at 331 North Road, Jerome. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Representative Fred Wood in the studio, and we're talking about immunizations right now. Fred, one of the questions I've got, and I'm not going to pull any punches on this, I think that one of the problems that we're basically overlooking, and the liberal left is saying, oh, come on in, you all come on in, you can welcome all these people across the border, down in Arizona, McAllen, Texas, whatever. Our Border Patrol alone, the people that work at our Border Patrol, are being subjected to all of these people coming across as illegal aliens. We have no idea, no medical records. We have nothing as far as information is concerned about these people illegal coming into our country with diseases that are highly communicable, and we're exposing not only our Border Patrol but our entire nation to these problems. They are not vaccinated. They don't have the records. What about this problem?
That could certainly be a potential public health problem. Now, I do know, and I've watched multiple documentaries, etc., and have read records about the medical examinations back when an awful lot of people were coming into Ellis Island. Exactly. And the big European migrations into the United States. They all had thorough medical examinations of what we knew about medicine at that point in time. Right. Okay, but they were concerned about tuberculosis, and they were concerned about other communicable diseases, and they would be isolated, they would be quarantined, etc., until they could prove that they were healthy, or if they were found to have disease, they would have to be treated, etc. I don't know what happens today at all. I've not heard of any thorough medical examination of all of these people. And And if they're not doing that, then that could be a real problem. You know, and it's not just the southern border. I was reading an article, I forget which scientific publication put it out, but last year there were 72,000 cases of measles in the Ukraine.
72,000.
72,000 cases of measles in the
Ukraine. And to go along with that, here's a headline from Madagascar where 1,200 died from measles.
Absolutely. You die from measles. I mean, I don't know what the percentage rate is, and it probably depends upon the underlying health of the people to start with, or the age at which they get it. But people travel all over the world on airplanes, etc. And if you've got that kind of active contagion process going on, no matter what the disease is, in countries, because people do come here from Ukraine frequently. I mean, in the legislature every year, we see student groups from all the Eastern Bloc countries and Western European countries, et cetera, come through the legislature.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we know what kind of a public health risk they're carrying?
But when we're talking about a mother of all caravans, 10,000 people in one caravan they predict is going to be coming up and hitting our borders. And what really drove me to almost insanity last night watching this is that many of them are from Cuba, many of them are from Haiti, and many of them are from Africa. And the expo of the Ebola virus could be coming in with these people, and we're sitting back saying, "Oh, come on in. Are you crazy?"
Again, if you want to argue with somebody.
No, I'm worried about this.
I am too. I think that's a significant public health risk. You know, if you look at what, so in 1900, Zeb, the average male like you and I lived to be 59 years old.
Yeah.
Okay? Right now, the average guy lives to be 79 plus.
Yep.
Not quite 80.
Yeah.
So in 120 years, we've gotten 20 years of longevity. 5 years of longevity has come from clean water. 5 years of longevity has come from uncontaminated food sources. We still have contaminated food sources, but we've improved to the point where we gained 5 years. 5 years of that longevity is strictly from immunizations.
Bingo.
Strictly from immunizations, and then the trillions of dollars spent on all of the miracles of modern medicine got us the other 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay? So 3 of the 4 categories that got us 15 of the 20 years is strictly public health.
If left unchecked, and I'm just going to ask you this final thought. If left unchecked, and parents can say, nope, I'm not going to have my kids immunized, and illegal aliens come in with no records of immunizations whatsoever, refugees come in, no records of immunizations. If left unchecked, and the American public is subjected to possibly the Ebola virus, poliomyelitis, measles, whatever the case might be, as a physician, and you've dedicated your life to medicine, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about the next 10 years?
I'm a 10, and I'll tell you why. In northern Idaho right now, we've got counties that are down to 60% or slightly less immunization percent of the population that's immunized.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, if measles ever come across, gets in heavily into Eastern Washington, and then crosses the border into Idaho, we've got some real problems up there with respect to immunizations.
What can we do, though?
Well, right now, I don't know what we can do. I mean, I presume that we could try to eliminate some of the exemptions, particularly the personal exemption. My understanding is Washington did that. That bill is on the governor's desk. He's expected to sign it this time. So I don't know whether that would fly in Idaho or not. But if we have one big measles outbreak, I suspect there probably will be a change in attitude about what we ought to be doing about our public health and immunization.
Give me a short answer on this, Fred. If you out in the audience are my age, and I'm an old-timer, I'm 71, would you suggest to a lot of us old-timers to reevaluate and possibly get revaccinated on some of these things?
Well, it depends upon where you're going to travel to, et cetera. Okay, if you're going to pretty much stay in southern Idaho, versus, okay, so I'm going to go to Eastern Europe on a tour for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you better start figuring out what you have had and what you haven't had.
I see.
And then get with CDC, Centers for Disease Control, and see what their recommendations are for travel for all countries.
Okay. Fred Wood, representative and former, I shouldn't say former because you still are, physician and dedicated his life to medical science. Thank you very much. We'll have a wrap-up, but I want to say thank you to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires in a big spring tire sale. Absolutely for you. Car, pickup, SUV, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever. They've got all the tires, all the sizes, all the tread designs. And don't forget, too, along with that, the best of brake service and front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, and above all, the best in service. Stop over and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Fred, thank you. I've got to run right after the program and go to another appointment, but I can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you. God bless you. Fred Wood, our representative and very knowledgeable person. D'Angelo, if you'd see Mr. Wood out, I'd appreciate that. And we're going to wrap things up for today and tell you that we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. Zeb at the Ranch, God bless.